It's D-U-E-U tell. I see you by this point, you're reading my mind. It's time for football. We about to keep this thing moving. I'm about it, you're with it, let's do it. We gon' make this thing official, you heard me? If you're the best, then let's prove it. The goal is set to have a team become a unit, man. We about to keep this thing moving. I'm about it, you're with it, let's do it. We gon' make this thing official, you heard me? If you're the best, then let's prove it. The goal is set to have a team become a unit, yeah.
Welcome to Football Game Plan's NFL All-32 show. I am Emery Hunt, the czar of the playbook. Be sure to follow me on all of my social media accounts. We're on Twitter at FBall Game Plan. Instagram is all one word, Football Game Plan. And as always, subscribe on YouTube to the Football Game Plan Network, located at youtube.com/Football Game Plan. And again, on iTunes, it's going to get back up and running. I am going to start a podcast soon. But just in case, when I do, make sure you subscribe to Football Game Plan Podcast on iTunes. Leave us a 5-star rating. Check out my other podcasts as well. And keep it locked here on the Game Plus Network as we have a ton more football content coming down the pike. So it is week number 11 in the NFL season. We have a lot to get into in this episode. We're going to break down a Thursday night game between the Atlanta Falcons and New England Patriots. We're going to talk about more games on the Week 11 slate. But I want to start this first segment off with something different, something unique. There was a thought or an article that came out the other day on Pro Football Talk talking about the NFL maybe contemplating starting expanding again to 8 teams, to 40 teams in the NFL. So 8 cities they're looking to expand to, or talking about it, or beginning the process. But the article said that expansion is probably inevitable with the growing number of markets wanting to get to 20 games or 18 games or something like that. And more teams is the way to do it. Now, I want to attack this from different avenues because I feel like this is a very good topic, an important topic, and one that we just want to dive into and discuss here in this first segment. Number one, what cities, right? That's always the fun part. Which cities would you give expansion teams to? Now, here's my thoughts on that. Number one, right now, the NFL is so Eastern-based, Eastern time zone based. Think about when you watch a weekend of NFL action on Sunday. You have a bunch of 1 o'clock games, maybe 3 to 4 o'clock games. Then we all have the primetime game. I think the NFL should, not if they would do it, but I think they should focus on that 4 o'clock window. If we could have 8 games in the 1 o'clock window, why can't we have 8 games in the 4 o'clock window along with the Sunday night and then Monday night game? And if you expand to 8, that allows you to do that. And if you expand to 8, my initial thoughts, my number one thought is to expand west. Which cities? West. First, let's technically throw St. Louis in the west, right? So you got to bring back St. Louis. They've had football before. They've had the Cardinals. They had the Rams. They did a great job in the XFL with the Blackhawks. So St. Louis definitely understands the NFL, great TV market, great football market. Throw one right there as a gateway to the West. I would also look at Oklahoma City. You see how it thrives in basketball? They really own Oklahoma City Thunder in terms they rally around that football team. And so when you give a small market like Oklahoma City a football team, great things tend to happen. They're going to have the most loyal fan base, rivaling Green Bay Packers. You know, not a big team, a big market, but they definitely will pack that stadium. They are one with the Packers, right? I feel like you could create that same scenario in the Midwest with Oklahoma City. That's 2 teams. Now let's go further west. Go back to some people that you already know. San Diego already have a stadium, already understands the NFL market, needs a team in Southern California. That puts them in that right there in that corridor with LA with those 2 teams. San Diego is one option. That's 3. 4 would be Oakland. Get Oakland back on the map. Put a team in Oakland, and that's 4. So now we're looking for 4 more teams out west. Here's where I think we should go. You also look at Salt Lake City. I think underrated, big market in Salt Lake City. You can get some great support there as well. It's one of the major metropolitan cities in the country. Loyal fan base just waiting to support an NFL team. Gives you another team out in that western part of the country for that 4 o'clock window. Sacramento, Keep adding teams in California. There's the population for it. Sacramento gives you a little bit more of the northern base that'll help out with San Francisco. Portland. No one talks about Portland, Oregon as a football city, but they've done a lot of construction on a new stadium. They have a new soccer stadium, a new minor league baseball stadium. Portland is a bubbling, booming area. You already have a pro team out there with the Trailblazers. So I think Portland along that Seattle corridor gives you some more teams out west. And here's one that's far out west I think would be great, and that's Honolulu. Why not have a football team on Hawaii's mainland? And you know why I feel like that would be a good move? One, because they're closer to the teams out west, so you have a lot more teams for those guys to play. And two, we talk about support. Think Oklahoma City. Think Green Bay. That's what you're going to get, I think, with a team in Hawaii. That whole island will be that team. So I think if you're going to expand to 8, you have to go out west and attack those western markets. Give us more 4 p.m. window games. Now, the second part of that I was thinking about that makes sense is if we go for out in Europe. Because if you're going to go to Europe, and obviously that's where the NFL is eyeing probably expanding, you can't just do one team because it throws off everything. So I think you have to go 4 teams in Europe. 2 teams in the UK. You could put 2 in London, or 1 in London, 1 in Scotland, whatever. But you need 2 teams in the UK. And you also can put 2 teams in Germany. People need to understand this. When the NFL had NFL Europe, Germany was one of the rabid fan bases, so much so that it went from the World League to NFL Europe to NFL Europa, and there were 4 to 5 teams in Germany alone. So you can really maximize that German market with 2 NFL teams. So you could create 4 teams in an NFL Europe division. There's your 4 teams. And let's say you go back out to the States, West. Now you want to focus on major markets. Let's go international. Let's go maybe Toronto, Vancouver, Mexico City would be a great option. Then you could put another team or 2 right there in the States. We talked about St. Louis, Salt Lake City, maybe even San Antonio if Jerry Jones would allow another team in Texas. So I think that's a good option. Either you're going to go with the NFL Europe-based option, or you're going to put 4 teams in Europe. Hell, you could put 8 teams in Europe and really have an NFC Europe, AFC Europe, and that'll help solve that market over there. Or you could do 4 over there, 4 over here, or 8 out west. So I just think that there's a lot of options on the table. It's a fun topic. And here's one of the things that people always say. One of the detractors instantly when I posted this on social media, well, it's going to dilute the talent. There's not enough quarterbacks already. What is going to happen? Well, here's the thing. If you are able to evaluate better, scout better, develop better, coach better, play the best players instead of playing players because of contract situation, you're going to have good players. Think about what we just saw last weekend. We saw P.J. Walker, who already has a 1-0 record on his starting resume last year when he beat the Detroit Lions, play well against the Arizona Cardinals, giving way to Cam Newton. P.J. Walker could be a starting quarterback on one of these expansion teams. So could Tyrod Taylor. So could any one of these star quarterbacks. Reed Sinnett, who is now with the Philadelphia Eagles, could be one of these quarterbacks on one of these expansion teams. There's more than enough talent out there. Think about this. NFL teams bring 90 players to training camp, and they keep 65. So you figure, take those 25 players, multiply by 32. That's about a good 6 teams right there. The FBS has 130 football playing colleges at the highest level. About 65 of those colleges are really good football. You mean to tell me there's not that many good football players that could be pro players that could play on the NFL level in these expansion team situations? And when you increase opportunities, then you'll see the talent increase as well. So I feel like it's a smart thing to do. It can be done. We just have to be smart about it and open to it, and we can really have some fun and get to 40 teams in the NFL. So that's my thoughts on that. We'll take a break and be back with more Football Game Plan's NFL All-32 show here on the Game Plus Network. Welcome back to Football Game Plan's NFL All-32 show. I am Emory Hunt, the czar of the playbook, and now we're going to get into tonight's game between the New England Patriots and the Atlanta Falcons. Let's look at some keys to victory for both teams in this ball game. Let's start with the Patriots. Number one, I think it's all about making Mac Jones comfortable. And in my opinion, it's about getting him out on the move. Mac Jones can pick you apart from the pocket, but he tends to be a little bit flat-footed and heavy-footed in the pocket in terms of not being able to recognize pressure. We know Atlanta wants to tee off on him, so move the pocket early on for Mac Jones and then allow him to have some success. Get him throwing on the move. He's very accurate. He can feather the football downfield in many different ways, and that's how you want to have him have some early success. And second, I want to see them make the Falcons one-dimensional. We know they're going to be a bit injured coming in this ball game. And what does that one dimension look like? Well, it depends. If they want to, throw the football, try to shut that down early and force them into a run game. If they want to try to run the football to shrink this ball game, load up, stop the run, and then play the run on the way to the quarterback. If they can do those things, I feel like New England has a great chance of having some success. And we talked about moving the pocket. They also got to find some explosives. And when I'm talking about explosive, I'm talking about plays past 15 yards. That's an area where I thought Mac Jones showed significant growth last weekend against the Cleveland Browns. He was able to find some of those plays deep down the field instead of being a check down Charlie. And I hope to see that the confidence that he was able to ascertain last weekend in throwing the football downfield, throwing into some tight windows, I hope he carries that over to this matchup against Atlanta, because if he's expanding his game, that offense will expand and they'll start playing better as the season rolls along. So it's going to be critical for him to have that success. Now for Atlanta, I think number one, it's about the specials. Special teams or special plays. You're going to be a bit undermanned going into this matchup against a team like New England. Maybe you'll have Cordero Patterson, but he's going to be nursing an ankle, so you don't really want to play him on a short week. You might not have Calvin Ridley, so you're going to be without two explosive playmakers. So if that's going to be the case, you got to win the special teams battle. That's always going to be a plus versus a team like New England and Bill Belichick. And two, finding those specials early. I'm talking about trick plays, those plays that you have designed for critical moments. You might want to use them here on this short week against the Patriots. And I think because they have an experienced veteran quarterback in Matt Ryan, it may be advantageous for Atlanta to go up-tempo. Maybe go no huddle. Speed things up. Don't allow New England to sit there, adjust, and get in the right defense. Go up-tempo, play fast, force them to think on the fly, and that's how you can create some of those big chunk plays that you're going to need in this ball game. And lastly, you're playing a rookie quarterback that doesn't really want to throw the football deep down the field. I know last week I just talked about how well he did, but you really want to get after him early. Create the pressure, generate the pressure, force him off that spot, force him to be uncomfortable in the pocket, force him to start focusing on the rush before anything. And I think that's how the Falcons can go into this game tonight and still win against the Patriots. But all things being considered, I do like the Patriots here. They do a great job of adjusting, whether it's a short week coming off a bye, long week, it doesn't matter. They have the best coaching staff, I feel as though, in the NFL. And we'll see that tonight against the Falcons. I like the Patriots to get the win. So we'll step aside one more time and be back with some more of game previews for Week 11 here on Football Game Plan's NFL All-32 show. Welcome back to Football Game Plan's NFL All-32 show. Emery Hunt, the czar of the playbook. Thank you guys for stopping by and joining us here on today's show. Now let's get into some rapid fire NFL previews. We'll start in Carolina, where they play host to the Washington football team. And this is going to be interesting because you have Washington coming in without their star defensive end, Chase Young, who's going to be out for the year with a torn ACL. Very unfortunate injury for him, but it weakens that pressure that they can bring coming off the front four. What it also does, it allows Carolina's new starting quarterback, Cam Newton, the opportunity to get into a groove. So that's the biggest storyline probably heading into this game. Washington, Ron Rivera versus his old quarterback, Cam Newton, and quietly the high-flying Carolina Panthers offense, which has a lot of weapons. They're healthy on offense, and that defense is healthy. They're able to get after the quarterback. They can cover on the back end. They're making plays. So this team is peaking at the right time, and they got an influx of talent at the most important position in quarterback play. Now, we saw Taylor Heinicke play really well last week against Washington. He actually outplayed Tom Brady. Kudos to him, because if you go back and watch him in that playoff game against Tampa last year, he pretty much had them on the cusp as well. of knocking out the Bucs. So he just has something against that Bucs defense. I think we'll see Carolina come into this ball game, play great football. Cam Newton's going to look to make a statement to prove that he is, quote unquote, back as an elite player in the NFL. He has a ton of weapons, probably his best set of weapons that he has had in his career. Run game with Christian McCaffrey, a litany of wide receiver options at his disposal, an improving offensive line, and an improving defense. I like Carolina to win this game. Now let's go up to Philadelphia for another NFC matchup in a game that we saw last year. The New Orleans Saints taking on the Philadelphia Eagles. So let's rewind just a little bit and think back to last season. The Saints were on a tear coming into their matchup against Philadelphia. They were playing great football. Taysom Hill was the starting quarterback because Drew Brees was injured. And so they went with Taysom Hill. They were running the football really well. The defense was excellent. And they were playing a team in Philly that was highly inconsistent, just benched their starter, Carson Wentz, and they were starting a rookie in Jalen Hurts. And all that happened in that game, Jalen Hurts outplayed Taysom Hill. Jalen Hurts got his first win as an NFL starter, knocked the Saints off their winning streak, got that win against Philadelphia, and that's how that story ended. And so now we fast forward this year, the Eagles are coming off an impressive win against the Denver Broncos. The Saints, tough loss against Tennessee. Saints coming to this ballgame once again with quarterback issues. They don't have Jameis Winston. They're playing with Trevor Siemian. And I think when you look at the matchup here, it's going to be about Siemian trying to find success against an Eagles defense that has been susceptible to giving up big plays in the passing game. How many big plays will be the key? How much do you trust the Saints offense's passing game that really struggled against Tennessee? Now, granted, the refs took some plays away from them, but all in all, that offense had some problems. And so this could be the game that could give the Eagles confidence coming off the performance they had against Denver. But on the offensive side, with Jalen Hurts, we know what he does. He makes it a +1 out there situation. He changes the math. He's a +1 in the run game. He forces you to make plays that you don't want to make. You can only see certain coverages. And the rhythm that and cohesiveness that he's starting to gather with his receiving core and his former Alabama teammate in Devonta Smith is something to watch. So that, to me, especially with how they're playing, I feel like the Eagles are on the upswing. The Saints are kind of trending toward the downswing. This is a big matchup for playoff purposes. The Saints are trying to stay in the mix or stay in the playoff picture as they are currently. The Eagles are trying to add another tiebreaker. They already have one against the Falcons. They're trying to look to grab one against the New Orleans Saints. They have one against Carolina. I think they get this win against New Orleans. I like Philadelphia to take control at home, get that first win in Lincoln Financial Field, which I just find fascinating that they hadn't won all season at home. Next, we look at the Dolphins taking on the Jets, and the Dolphins are coming off a fantastic game against the Baltimore Ravens. They really beat the Ravens at their own game. That defense just didn't have an answer for the Dolphins defense, and offensively, they made the plays that were there to be made. And I feel confident to say that last week's game probably was so big for Tua, more so than the team win. But the fact that he was called off the bench because we saw Jacoby Brissett get injured, Tua comes in relief, didn't expect to play, but was able to make some throws, make some key plays, find some open guys late in the game, convert the first downs that he needed to convert, and help this team win the game. To me, that will do more for his confidence than anything. And I think that's going to be huge for him moving forward. Plus, when you look at the confidence factor of things, fast forward to let's go over to the other side. The Jets now will be starting Joe Flacco. Well, Mike White didn't play. He did play terribly against the Buffalo Bills last weekend. But I don't understand why they just didn't go back to Josh Johnson, who played well when he got his opportunity against the Indianapolis Colts. So now they go to Joe Flacco. And so do you really have confidence that Joe Flacco can come in and stabilize this offense? The thing with Mike White, he was young, he was youthful. He gives you a little bit of upside. Josh Johnson has the athleticism to buy some time, escape, and create plays downfield. Joe Flacco will need a lot of things to go well for him in order to have success. Now, defensively, I think the Jets defense, to be honest, can keep them within range, but too many 3-and-outs I feel as though that will come on offense with Joe Flacco starting. I'm not buying it. I like the Dolphins to go ahead on and get the win. This is going to be an interesting game. Let's go to another one. Kansas City and Dallas. Dallas travels to Arrowhead to take on the Chiefs. Now, the back end of that Chiefs-Packers game, we saw the old Chiefs, right? You saw Pat Mahomes find Tyreek Hill. He was able to catch the football, didn't drop it. It didn't end up in an interception, and they were able to convert that key first down to close out the game. Then this past weekend, we saw the old Chiefs again against the Raiders. So maybe it's a sign of things to come, which should make this a very entertaining game because their defense will give up some big plays because Dallas's offense is just as explosive as potentially Kansas City's offense is. So we'll see if the Chiefs can have an encore performance once again. And for Dallas, their offense is playing exactly how you want to play. They're coming off of a beatdown of the Atlanta Falcons. They got their revenge against Atlanta, coming off that beatdown Denver gave them. So I like these two teams because they're both going in the right direction. And to me, when you have both teams heading in the right direction, you're going to get a masterful game. But you have to look at who can switch things up if need be, who can run the football if they have to slow the game down. Guess what? That's the Dallas Cowboys. That's Ezekiel Elliott. That's Tony Pollard. That's what the Cowboys can do. Plus, Dak Prescott, to be quite honest, is playing arguably his best football of his career. So he's someone that should be in the MVP conversation. I like Dak Prescott to take control and have a better game than that of Pat Mahomes. So I'm going with the Cowboys to get the win here against the Kansas City Chiefs. Next, we're going to look at Indianapolis and Buffalo. Pivotal game in the AFC. Can the Colts overcome inconsistencies and make enough plays to win this game? That's the $1 million question, and that's what we're going to have to find out. And that's what Carson Wentz is going to have to do. Because to me, it's not about whether or not the Colts, different pieces, can do it. It's about, can Carson Wentz play a consistent game? On the other side of the field, can Josh Allen replicate the performance he had against the Jets? I thought that was probably one of his better performances. He's been a bit up and down this year. I know statistics may say differently, but his play just hasn't been quite the same that we saw last year, right? So you have both quarterbacks trying to come out and make a statement. I think the key will come down to which defense do you trust? Right now, what is keeping the Bills afloat, to be honest, is their defense. They can get pressure. They're athletic at the second level. We know they're versatile and can turn the ball over on the third level. So if you're able to do all of those things, you're going to be pretty good for the duration of the season. So I do like the fact that they can come in here and take care of business. Look for the Buffalo Bills, I think, to win big here. I love the run game of Indianapolis, but I feel like Buffalo will do a great job versus the run, put a lot of pressure on Carson Wentz, and we know how that happens. So I'm taking Buffalo. And lastly, before we get out of here, let's look at Baltimore taking on the Bears. The Bears are coming off of a bye. Baltimore is coming off of an ugly loss to the Dolphins. Which Baltimore offense will show up? Which Baltimore defense will show up? Those are some questions that I need answered. We know this is not probably the best Baltimore defense that we've seen, but they have to do something because we're seeing a surging Bears offense getting confidence with their rookie quarterback, Justin Fields. Now they're coming off of a bye. What new wrinkles will we see? How rested will they be? How well adjusted will they be versus this run game of the Baltimore Ravens? So for me, I'm just going to go with something simple. Rookie quarterback against an aggressive-minded defense. I think Baltimore will win, but it's going to be very close, man. I wouldn't even, if I was a betting man, I probably would put a little money on the Bears to maybe win outright in the upset. But I do like Baltimore to get back on the right track. This is what they do. They have a clunker, then they come back and play exceptionally well. I like the Ravens. So that's it for this edition of Football Game Plan's NFL All-32 show. Emery Hunt, the czar of the playbook. Keep it locked here on Game Plus Network. Follow me on social media, and I will see you guys in week number 12.
Till I see you by this point, you're reading my mind. It's time for football. We about to keep this thing moving. I'm about it, you're with it. Let's do it. We gon' make this thing official. You heard me? If you're the best, then let's prove it. The goal is set to have a team become a unit. Man, we about to keep this thing moving. I'm about it, you're with it. Let's do it. We gon' make this thing official. You heard me? If you're the best, then let's prove it. The goal is set to have a team become a unit. Yeah.